Are the Notre Dame Fighting Irish a college football playoff contender in 2023? Do you start to look up and down this roster and you say, yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens, but it looks like they have some pretty crucial tools. You can definitely talk yourself into the Irish at least having a chance to make a run. You have Sam Hartman transferring in from Wake Forest, otherwise known as the ACC's all-time touchdown passing leader. Not a bad title to have to walk into your building after what you had last year, having success with the majority of the season playing a backup quarterback. Okay, so you upgrade there. You bring back 100, not 100, 100% of your rushing production from a season ago in that running back room. Another box checked. You have an offensive line that, yes, you got to replace a couple pieces, but you got Joe Walt, who's going to be an NFL draft pick when his time comes. There's a lot to work with here on the offensive side of the ball. Okay, cool. Check that box. Do I think the offense is at least good enough to be competitive for a college football playoff spot? 100%. Look at the defensive side. Defense is solid. You bring a lot of pieces back. The one question you probably have is, well, what's on the defensive line? Do we have somebody who can be that dynamic edge rusher for us? I think you do. Whether it's Jean-Baptiste, whether it's Patello, you got some guys that I think are going to step up in a big way in 2023, some guys that I think could do some damage for you. So be excited about that. I think that actually is going to end up being a piece for Notre Dame that when the whole thing finishes, when all the dust settles, we'll say, that defensive line was pretty solid. It was by no means the Achilles heel. It was important. You can't overlook it. But I'm excited to see what that defensive line is. Got a couple of things, though, that I'm looking at that could be snags or rather hurdles for Notre Dame when it comes to pursuing their college football playoff aspirations. The first of which is, do you have a playmaker on the outside that can allow maximum potential achieved for bringing in Sam Hartman? We'll talk about that more in a second. Make sure you're subscribed right here. We talk ball every single day. Make sure you're following me on on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Piquel. I was going to say make sure you're subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel, which we appreciate y'all doing in advance. Like I was saying, do you have a playmaker that can make plays for you on the outside? Because if you bring Sam Hartman here and he can throw it a quarter mile, but nobody can get open, it's called an incompletion, right? Or it's called a sack, which is even worse. There's some guys that we're looking at, though, that, hey, who's going to step up here? Is it Deion Colzie? Which, I mean, Notre Dame, their social media department, put out a couple of clips from spring practice. Deion Colzie's dunking on some dudes in those clips. Now, it's just a clip. We don't have all the context. But that got me fired up. Is it one of these freshmen that steps up? Jaden Grayhouse, he had a lot of juice out of high school, played against some really good competition in the state of Texas. Is he a guy that flashes for you and steps into a big role early? I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's impossible either. Maybe he's a guy that shows up and shows out. We'll see what happens. Caleb Smith, the transfer, does he come in and make some plays? You got some candidates here. Do you have a guy who can be your alpha male wide receiver? Because this has really been like the hymn I've sung the entire offseason about Notre Dame. You got a quarterback, which is, quite frankly, more than half the equation. Do you got somebody that can go and get it for you? Because then you can fight different styles. I keep saying it. Michigan played bully ball last year. They took that next step when J.J. McCarthy was able to open it up a little bit more. Notre Dame is going to be just fine playing bully ball this year. Do they have a receiver that can assist Sam Hartman in opening it up? Okay, that gets me fired up. Now, the second question I have, it's a bit of a loaded question. Can you go undefeated in the regular season because you're not playing a conference title game? And if Notre Dame gets to the end of the year and there's one loss, I mean, we'll talk about who they're playing in a second, but if they have one loss on the resume and you end up against a one-loss conference champ, that's tricky. That's tricky. I think the nod then goes to the conference champ for right or wrong. That's just kind of the way that I think the committee plays that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I think that's how it goes. So can you go undefeated and, like they say in Remember the Titans, like Coach Yo says, leave no doubt. Can you leave no doubt in the regular season if you're Notre Dame? Because you have a couple of interesting ones. You play Ohio State at home. You play USC at home. Those two, I believe, will be your toughest games. You get them both in South Bend. Heck, Maybe yours truly and Nick Brake are walking around South Bend that day. Maybe we're there for the game under Touchdown Jesus. Then you have 2 other road games that I'm curious about. You go to Clemson. You know they're looking for revenge for what y'all did to Dabo and those boys down there. And you go at Stanford. Now, Stanford, if you're not a Notre Dame fan or you weren't following closely last year, you'd be surprised to hear that Stanford actually beat the Fighting Irish a season ago. I know, strange but true. So Notre Dame out for their own kind of revenge game right there. They've got their work cut out for them. For as much as people want to bang on not playing in a conference title game, they still will have a very rigorous regular season schedule. Can you go undefeated? Can you go undefeated? That's my question. We'll talk more about their schedule breakdown as it gets closer here. But if they can go undefeated, obviously they're in the college football playoff. And they will have, without a doubt, earned the right to kick them up on conference championship weekend. If they beat the likes of Ohio State, USC, Clemson, heck, who knows what Stanford is. They will have earned that right. But I'm telling you, they've got the crucial tools. They've got the majority of this equation figured out. Do you have a playmaker for you that can equip you then to have enough juice offensively to go undefeated? I'm fired up, man. Year 2 of the Marcus Freeman era. We're working working very hard to get Coach Freeman onto the program. Okay, so we'll let you know when that happens. We'll give you a heads up. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Man, football's here, y'all. Let's go. Football's here. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep the party rolling throughout spring ball, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.